In case you missed it, your host Kayla Blakesley is at it again. What did she say this time? Tune in to find out right now.
It really is your top story. Indiana now under a statewide disaster emergency after severe storms and flooding just hammered so many communities across Indiana. So Governor Mike Braun has also mobilized the National Guard, and he's joining us live right now to tell us what help is available for you. So with that, Governor, good morning.
Good morning, Kayla.
It has definitely been a really rough week across Indiana. We've had these severe storms, the flooding, widespread power outages, downed trees, and just, some communities dealing with a lot of significant damage. So yesterday, you officially declared a statewide disaster emergency. As I mentioned, you mobilized the Indiana National Guard, and you've directed state agencies to get resources where they're needed most. So, Governor, let's just start there. When you declare a statewide disaster emergency, what exactly does that unlock?
So when you do it as a statewide, as opposed to generally these are around tornadoes, unless there's a water event with it as well, which would be maybe a county or two. Here we could see it coming, just not the severity of it. Started in northeastern Illinois, but by the time it hit Gary, Indiana, there were straight line winds of right at 100 miles an hour. So I was up there on Wednesday, and we've still got over 200,000 people without electricity homes. Debris removal is going to be just a significant task up there, and it's going to take probably weeks to get it all done. Yesterday, I was at Cambridge City, a small community in South Central, and then it moved down into some southeastern counties as well. Record flooding. I mean, some places got over 10 inches of rain in a short period of time. The only thing that made this probably less impactful, and it's about as bad as we've seen it in a long time, is we had enough forewarning, just not the severity of it. So, for instance, a stretch of I-70 was taken out 125 feet, one of the busiest in the country. Our Department of Transportation has already fixed it permanently, and they did that over 2 days right after it was taken out. That's the kind of speed at which we're addressing it. And they did get another 1 to 4 inches of rain, which is going to complicate it because the water had nearly completely receded, but the ground is saturated. So we're on top of it. Department of Natural Resources, Indiana Department of Homeland Security, state police. Special shout out to the local first responders, law enforcement. That is who's going to be generally getting that first call. The state was prepared simply because we could watch it go down through the state as it was occurring. So we were ready immediately the next day, and it's made a big difference. But it's going to take a while to get through it all, and I've been pleased with our response to date. National Guard, especially, I called them into action when I saw in the Northwest. That Black Hawk helicopter is there for rescue or search on call as well. A lot of resources. We'll compile all the damage and get with the feds as soon as we get that together.
Well, let's say then, Governor, that I am a Hoosier. I'm listening right now, and I have got a flooded basement or just, some major property damage. What really is step one? Who do I call, and how do I make sure my damage is documented with the state?
So call your local authorities because they are in touch with us, and we're the backup to them. And there are emergency shelters established in the impacted communities. We got utility crews working, nonstop, especially in the Northwest. For instance, in Cambridge City, there were a couple thousand homes without electricity. Half of that has been restored. They expected the remaining homes to be restored. Where you could not live within your homes flooded or businesses, that displacement, that's going to be a longer term. But all your local authorities are working with the state, so go where it's easiest. They're expecting your calls. A lot of it has been addressed due to the quick response up front. But with more weather moving through, we could get a second round of it. Hopefully it's not going to be as severe.
And I think this is also important to point out because, just because you report damage doesn't necessarily mean you'll automatically, be getting a check in the mail the next day. I mean, Governor, what has to happen before state or even federal disaster assistance actually becomes available to an individual homeowner?
Well, that's a longer-term process. Homeowners will first look, if they've got insurance, to their insurance companies, and we'll be watching to make sure there's a quick response there as well. Uninsured homes would be where you may get some federal help there. I remember when a tornado took out a good portion of Sullivan, Indiana, on its south side, many of those homes did not have insurance. That's a different level. That is where broader resources come into play. But your first probably reaching out there would be to your own insurance agent. The state is going to be there mostly removing debris, making sure infrastructure gets fixed, and having emergency shelters where you are displaced. And a lot of that is already in motion.
Governor, real quick, before we kind of switch gears here, are you anticipating Indiana seeking federal disaster assistance from FEMA?
We definitely will, but it'll take us 4 to 5 days to compile that, to get it to the feds. But part of a statewide emergency declaration gives you a little bit of a leg up to where that process is speeded up. And the reason there is when it has that wide an impact, they give it a little different level of priority as well.
So, and just to be clear, as you said, for someone listening right now who has major property damage, flooding, or what have you, your best advice is for them to contact local authorities first because those individuals are already in contact with the state, correct?
And they've done an amazing job, and we immediately got with them and had our own agencies and support system there on site as soon as daylight, on Wednesday.
Wow.
So, and in both the Northwest, and when I was in Cambridge City yesterday, that's apparent, and very proud of the local response.
Governor, before I let you go, I definitely want to switch gears while I have you and talk about the Bears because yesterday we were all waiting, for this really big Chicago Bears stadium announcement, and then womp womp, we didn't exactly get the Bears are officially moving to Indiana announcement that we were hoping for. Kevin Warren did say that the sole focus right now is on Hammond, Indiana. So, Governor, what did you make of yesterday's announcement? Were you as let down as producer Josh and I?
No, because we're in contact with them a few times weekly. And here's where it's at. There was urgency when they had no response from their own state for about 5.5 years. So they started in 2020. They called me about 9 months ago, and it moved quickly. And we got the accommodating legislation. I wanted a strong public statement from them. That was early February. And then when their legislature gavelled out on May 31st, that's not too long ago, that's when their entire board unanimously voted to focus on Hammond. Mayor McDermott's been doing a great job. They're actually looking at additional acreage in that area up there to even broaden what they might do to invest. So they don't have the urgency since they're focusing on one location. A lot of due diligence has to be done, checking out the properties, make sure soil issues are good. All of that has been done, and it's moving at a methodical pace. So it just wasn't in a place to where they could say with certainty, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. We are in touch with them, like I said, a couple of times weekly, and it's a big project. And when it does get to fruition, it'll be amazing.
Well, you just said it, moving at a methodical pace. Let me ask you this. We all saw it with the Minnesota Vikings. It took over a decade for that to happen. Hopefully, we're not talking a timeline of 10, 11 years here, are we, Governor?
Their hard deadline is 2033 when their lease expires, and they're going to want to have a stadium complete with a lot of the mixed-use investment around it, which they have none of that, by the way, where they're currently at. And will take 2 to 3 years to build out the stadium, probably another year or two to get everything else they want to do. So that gives them time. It is 2026, so that's a 7-year window. They were worried mostly about the 5.5 years that they spent and didn't get any reaction.
Yeah.
I think that tells them a lot. Are moving at the speed of business. Now it is what you normally do when you don't have the urgency, when you're focusing on a place you're wanting to come to, and we're in the typical stuff that happens in large real estate deals that have to be checked off before you formally ink the deal.
Governor, I know you're a busy guy. You're obviously dealing with all of the disaster relief going on and obviously this news with the Chicago Bears. But have you had a chance to get to the Indiana State Fair?
I opened it up last Friday. First Lady and I, we were at the pork breakfast at 6:30 in the morning. I overate there, definitely.
Hopefully you wore your stretchy pants.
Yeah. Later that morning, we opened it up, and the State Fair is amazing. The guy that's been running the rides and attractions part of it from Farmland, Indiana, Danny Houston and his family, just put $3.5 million into a train that especially, a miniature train track that takes you through the entirety of the fair. A really nice addition.
That's incredible. Have you, aside from the breakfast, have you tried any of the other kind of different foods there? Like, for example, the Flamin' Hot Cheeto Oreo or anything crazy like that?
I had enough sausage and scrambled eggs and biscuits and gravy to last me for those 2 days that we were there, Friday and Saturday. And we'll be spending more time there, and I intend to eat a big tenderloin sandwich minimally.
Well, I expect at least a selfie. And like I said, Governor, if you don't have a pair of stretchy pants, you might want to get yourself a pair before you head out to Indiana State Fair. Sir, thank you for all of your quick work when it comes to all of these storms moving through Indiana. Best of luck. I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Kayla.
Hey, it's KB. As a show of appreciation for listening, use my promo code WOWO for deep discounts on all kinds of products at mypillow.com. That's promo code WOWO.
Podcasts by Federated Media.